Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 8th match of the ILG LCL between Nox Ignis Elemensia and versus Zero Respect. Both teams are playing their first matches in the entire LCL, and so we'll expect something really new and expect both playstyles very, very new from both teams. And well, it's pretty much going to be rather exciting to see what they have in store, really. Because we're so used to seeing the same teams for almost 2 days, and now we got to change up this thing. And this this change of scenery will be happening throughout the week as well, because due to the large scale, the number of teams involved. So right now, let's get on with the match now, shall we? So we see the bans coming in for Nox Ignis Elemensia. It is going to be the Shaco, Maokai, and Thresh. Now the Shaco is a heavy target ban aimed right toward jungler keys, because he is a Diamond 5 jungler who has played so much Shaco, as much Shaco as Kalebot has played Kale, if you guys can recognize him in NA. And we do see Grace Jesus pulling out a cannon top. So I'm not quite sure what that. Well, okay, it's been a really long time since I've seen that kind of a pick go through, because the last time I've seen Cannon Top being that popular is way back in Season 3. So, I'm really curious to see how Gracie, the fact that he's picking Cannon Top so confidently into a team like Nox Ignis Elemensia, because this team actually has been around for a very long time. These 5 players have pretty much, at least 3 of them, Seeker, Lizard, and Worstwall Forest, have pretty much played with each other for a very long time. So you can expect to see, so they have a really good experience as a team. Just the 3 of them. I'm pretty sure Xeroxian and Fitz are fairly new. I'm not quite sure. I can't say this for sure though, because I haven't particularly followed them. But I know that they have been a team for a very long time. Whereas on the side of Zero Respect, they have been a fairly close-knit team as well. They're a team of cafe players who have been playing at a cafe together for a very long time. So both really 2 teams that have really stuck around for a very long time and haven't really recently created or anything just for the sake of a tournament or anything, as we've seen in at least 50% of the cases so far. So expect to see a really formidable match. Expect to see some very good strats as a team coming from both of them. And well, let's move on to the picks then. As I mentioned earlier, I was rather puzzled. The reason I called out the cannon pick was because I've really never seen a cannon top being picked in a 5-star in a tournament since Season 3. So this is the first time I'm seeing, and it took the entirety of Season 4. So it's been an entire season where I haven't really seen them going. And Grace Jesus to pick it so confidently without even seeing who Seeker would go in the top lane. Well, I don't know. I guess he is kind of very confident in his pick to make things happen. On the side of Nox Ignis Elemensia, we did see the Leona pick being locked in first. Lizard is support main. I've only ever seen his Braum. I have not quite seen his Leona, but I'm sure his Leona is just as formidable as his Braum, because he is a good support who has practiced that role very well and can play to the fullest extent in every match. So he's a very capable support in his own right. Same goes for Seeker in the top lane. He was actually very famous for his Riven in the Bangladeshi community. So that alone kind of he slowly grew to love top lane, playing Riven a lot in general and climbing the rank ladder on the Garena SES server, until he actually ended up hitting Diamond, and then he started branching out into most other top laners. Worstwall Forest, who actually hit Challenger, and was the first Bangladeshi to hit Challenger in Season 4, is also a very well-rounded jungler. I have seen his Vi, and let me tell you, it is a fierce Vi that he plays right now, and there is good reason why he has managed to play Challenger, given the way he managed to play Vi, and it's also the reason why it has been banned against him. So the Riven and Vi are direct bans at Seeker and Worstwall Forest respectively. You really don't want to see them on these champions. The Morgana, though it is also a very standard ban, is also a target ban against Lizard, because I hear he plays as ridiculous of Morgana as he does his Braum and Leona. So he actually has a well-rounded champion pool, and he has good practice in using all of them. As for Ifits and Xeroxian, I am not quite sure about Xeroxian, but Ifits is a Diamond 5 mid laner whose Syndra is actually second most played, coming only next to Ari. So it appears that they are trying to go for this extreme lockdown comp where gank potentials are powerful and he can just set up ganks for the Lee Sin really easily. And so it appears that he picks Syndra over Ari just for the sake of the team, which is always a good idea when you're playing fives. When you're playing as a 5 against other people who are communicating amongst each other and are trying to have a good game. So let's analyze. So looking at Zero Respect, we do see the Wukong jungle being first picked along with the first time Kennen top in that I have ever seen personally, into a Caitlyn and Janna bot lane. Now, Caitlyn and Janna is an age-old name. It has almost always been around, and for a while it was actually praised as the most safest and the most secure lane, which is pretty much incapable of being ganked easily thanks to the amazing disengage provided by Janna and the general mobility around the 90 caliber net from Caitlyn that allows her to not only just cover a random distance but also be able to go past walls if things get really dicey. So if they have enough practice with the two things, you can be assured that they are going for a very safe lane. And we see a Fizz being picked up by Easy Peasy in that mid lane. I'm not quite sure about Easy Peasy and the Caitlyn and the Janna, but I do know quite a bit about Grace Jesus and Jungler Please. Jungler Please, as his name suggests, has been playing jungle for a very long time. He was playing a lot of Shaco, and he was actually quite a menace in that Shaco, and it's probably the reason, and it's definitely contributes to the reason, as to why he managed to hit Diamond 5 in after about 500-ish games of Shaco on the Garena SES server. So while I'm not quite sure about the Caitlyn and Janna, I'm sure because they play in the same cafe, they known each other. They might probably be real-life friends who are just hanging out and trying to have a good time in this tournament. So, without further ado, let's load in the game and see what the plan is for level 1. So, let's look at, while the game is loading, let's see what kind of a team, or how the fights would go, or how objective contest would go, or what team comp they're generally running. On the side of Nox Ignis Elemensia, you have a Leona, you have an Aurelia, you have a Draven, a Syndra, and a Lee Sin. So it's a mix. At first sight, you would probably look at it and say it's a mix of single target catch comps. It's a mix of single target catch as well as a decent AoE, in the form of the Draven ultimate, the Syndra's general AoE stun, if she chooses to put that AoE stun, which is always a weapon, which is always a formidable weapon, especially in a team fight where she's able to coordinate with teammates to kind of get the damage rolling, and the Leona in general. So you can see that they have this extreme catch comp. You can expect them to probably gain a slight advantage and coordinate just about enough so that they can be able to set up catches and pretty much slowly and steadily gain control and vision of the enemy jungle and try to finish the game from there. Not only that, even if they do end up being behind, this is probably the kind of comp that you want in order to set up a comeback and set up the perfect catches that you'd like in order to claw back into the game. Looking at the set of Zero Respect, we do see the Wukong jungle, the Janna, the Kennen, and the Caitlyn, and the Fizz. So the Fizz, I'm kind of confused about how the Fizz fits into all this. I can obviously see why the Wukong and the Kennen would go, because they both heavily synergize with one another. It is not uncommon to see a Wukong and a Kennen go right through a team in a 5v5 team fight and just hop onto the enemy AD carry and support and just instantly melt them with their innate damage, because while they are knocked up for the duration of Wukong's Cyclone, there is Kennen's own Slicing Maelstrom to deal the extra bit of damage and pretty much delete them in fights and render them completely useless. So that is one very big, lethal combo that Nox Ignis Elemensia are going to have to watch out for. And we do see a Janna, which is pretty much their greatest source of disengage on the team. So depending on how she ends up playing, we will be able to tell how she go about doing things. But the one thing, as I mentioned at the start, I'm not sure how the Fizz fits into this team comp. And because Fizz is, of course, a deadly burst assassin, and all what he needs is pretty much what Nox Ignis Elemensia need with the team comp as well, is to just set up catches. They need to find someone alone so that Fizz can kind of end up deleting them. And in the level 1, we do see Versatile Forest moving in and spotting the Fizz, and both teams kind of have a good idea of where the other is for now, because both Jana and the Caitlyn were able to spot out the enemy Draven Leona, and vice versa. So both teams kind of should have some decent amount of information. Mainly, the most being probably that their top laners are all in the top side and are not really sticking with the other team. Kennen isn't sticking with his team, nor is Irelia sticking with hers. However, Kennen does kind of ping over there. I'm not quite sure what that ping means. Does not really listen. And the good luck have fun's going through. Generally. Just relaxing, having a really good time for now. And the match will soon be underway. Standard starts going in for both teams. Wukong starting the buff, it would seem, as opposed to the Gromp start. I'm not quite sure what his plan is in doing this. However, Lee Sin will go for the standard Krug start. Trying to leash on the side of the bot lane, as we all know that bot lane gives the best leash. And the whole time, okay, then while they go into lane, right, let's try and think about how the lanes would go, because these are some rather... We are seeing a Draven for the first time, and more importantly, a Kennen top for the first time in our games. So it will be kind of worth talking about how the lanes would probably go. And let's start with the bottom lane, because a Draven Leona is a Draven Leona pretty much spells power, in my opinion. Because the very lane dynamic, the very fact that Draven has the potential to go so aggressive, granted at the cost of a very poor escape, and kind of, if he does get ganked, there really won't be nothing much for him to do besides just speed himself up for a few seconds. And even then, if it's mistimed, then they could very well bait it out and work around it. But the presence of a Leona will kind of give them the necessary disengage needed, I'd assume, in the form of her own stunts. So that's and in congruence with that, let's just say this for now. In congruence with that, this lane also spells a lot of power, because Draven's spinning axes have such high scaling that even when his passive was remade earlier, if you guys remember, during release, Draven's passive was actually a damage over time effect on each crit. So his spinning axis used to deal a lot of damage and completely murder the enemy bot lanes before they could even hit level 2. I'm talking level 1 trades was severely huge. Now, when they remade that passive into him getting additional gold, it pretty much changed Draven into this highly snowball-based mid lane. And oh my god, in the meantime, we do see Versatile Forest invading Jungler Please's jungle. I'm not quite sure what plan he has in mind. Lee Sin does get the blue to get the red buff, and he is totally, oh my god, this is turning out very different. I'm not quite able to decide, and oh my god, the flash Q will seal the deal, and Seeker gets first blood. Wow, well, that happened. Versatile Forest's route completely took him from the Krugs to the blue buff, to the red buff, to the enemy red buff, where he actually recognized the ability. The Wukong's generally weak early phase in the jungle, and I'll come to that soon. Let me just finish talking about this bot lane. So basically, Draven Leona in its own right does spell extreme power in terms of aggression. So if it's an unaddressed lane by Jungle Please, if Jungle Please does not end up giving enough ganks for the bottom lane, it could turn out very badly for them. And we do see in slight engage going on, not able to follow up though on the side of Xeroxian. On the other hand, you have Kate Jana, which, as I already mentioned, is a safe lane. They would rather play it cool. They would rather play it a little laid back, and would pretty much want the jungler to kind of camp them. However, they it will come to a point where they're just not able to handle the Draven Leona eventually, and that will work out a little against them if jungler please kind of leaves these unaddressed. The same thing goes for Easy Peasy. If he doesn't make roams, at least if jungler please isn't able to gank, if at least Easy Peasy manages to roam, he should be able to recognize that ability, that the very fact that Draven cannot particularly get away. And Janna can set up these ganks very well as is, but however, if she ends up only having to use the skills for disengage, the lane could very easily go against them. So that's about it for the bot lane. Let's look at the mid lane for now. And oh my god, a gank does come forward. We do see the flash coming in from Grey Jesus. We will kind of go to safety. Not really following up on that. And in the mid lane, we do see a Syndra versus Fizz. And now this is purely a skill matchup. Both champions are equally capable of going against each other. And we do see a gank coming in from jungle base. This is what I was talking about. Using the low listing point of a Draven, and in the mid lane we do see it, and Versatile Forest successfully ganks the mid lane while jungle base's gank actually fails in the bot lane. So really good gank paths chosen by Versatile Forest, starting from that very good counter invade, very good invade onto jungler pleases jungle to take his red buff, all the way till the top gank, which blew Gracie's flash, and this will be another sure shot engage onto Caitlyn. Will they be able to get a kill off of this? No, they actually can't. Draven has no mana to follow up and speed himself up in order to go in for the kill. So, right, so far, as for the mid lane, as I said, it's entirely a skill matchup. Both champions are equally capable of killing each other, and Fizz also has a way to dodge Syndra's ultimates. While it would look like that at face value, it is easy to catch the Fizz off guard by ulting earlier as a Syndra, so it comes down entirely to a Fitz and Easy Peasy skill with the champion. But so far, Fitz does appear to be winning, because Versatile Forest did help him out with the gank, which, though it didn't give him a kill, it still allowed him to be further in CS. And it is evident from looking at their CS, which is 43 to 27, and that will be it. That will be the aggression coming in for the mid lane. I'm not quite sure why directed camera could not catch that, guys, but I'm sorry. But that was a solo kill that you see from FH onto Easy Peasy, and a large portion of that happened to be the fact that FH had a level advantage, was constantly threatening him, and Versatile Forest completely ruining jungler pleases jungle, and a teleport did come in from Grey Jesus onto that bot lane. So two things happening simultaneously amongst one another. The Draven does go away, and they did manage to blow Leona's flash, but at the cost of their blue buff and a death given out by the jungler. And Grey Jesus seems to be walking into the wrong place, and Lizard bravely goes in and stuns him, but he might give up his life in doing so, and they must have actually disengaged. Kind of a bad call from Nox Ignis Elemensia over there, and we will see the rest just back off and slowly go away. And oh my god, I'm sorry, they actually didn't end up not taking the blue buff at the end. So I guess Jungle Peace did well to distract Versatile Forest in the meantime until then. So I'm kind of missing a lot of things here. I'm really sorry, because it has partly to do with directed camera not being able to catch up. I'm kind of looking less at the minimap and more what's actually happening, and Versatile Forest is actually going at this again. He is ready for round 2, and they're not even level 6, and oh my god, that early smite will completely give them all incentive to just go forward and steal that blue buff and not give it to the Fizz. Right now, the FH we do see is going a little aggressive, but Fizz will go to safety, and oh my god, that is severely aggressive play from Seeker coming in, solely preying on the level advantage. He did get a level ahead of Kennen right there, and level 8 is fairly close to where Irelia hits a power spike, which is where you really fear her, and Grey Jesus could not see that coming in time, despite seeing the fact that Irelia already did get first blood. So a bit of a miscalculation on Grey Jesus' part, ending up costing his life there. And slowly and steadily, the members of Zero Respect are kind of falling to Nox Ignis Elemensia, and partly, thanks in no small part really to Versatile Forest is amazing counter jungling because he's completely abusing Wukong's weak early game in the preseason jungle, in this new jungle that we see right here. And he is a Lee Sin. He is also playing the best chap that can counter jungle, probably next to a Pantheon or something, because Lee Sin is kind of a jack of all trades. And he can also be played in a variety of ways, and it's the player playing him. Versatile Forest is actually a well-versed Lee Sin himself. So he's currently having the game of his. He's currently having a really good jungling run. He's actually able to control his buffs as well as go in time to try and invade enemy buffs. And we do see him immediately going again into Jungler Please's jungle, probably going in to force the fight on him. And we do see a small invade going into that bot lane. The ultimate does go in, small engage, not invade, going into the bot lane, and Lizard going way too far, actually taking 2 tower shots and dying to it. And Xeroxian left to try and juggle access. He actually can kill both of them, but he's not willing to go for it. Versatile Forest is too far to end up cementing the kill, and that'll end up in a 1-for-0 engage in favor of Zero Respect. Wow, okay, so Lizard going a little too far with the Leona there. I'm not quite sure why that Zenith blade was particularly necessary. He could have just left Xeroxian to chase and kind of go after them. The final Zenith blade hitting, remember guys, Zenith blade is a skill shot that will hit the target at the end of it. So even if it does hit someone in the way, it will not really gap close to them. And it ended up hitting the Janna, who was actually in tower range. So they could not particularly, so there was nothing particularly that she could do, and she went all the way to the Janna and took 2 tower shots that proved fatal to her demise. And we do see a gank attempting to go happen on mid lane, but I think Versatile Forest kind of spotted it out for a fits and is actually going right back onto these guys. And Gracie is actually asking for a pause. You can actually pause the game yourself, but oh my god, why am I getting distracted by the chat right now? I think Fitz may have managed to cement the skill to that one. Oh my god, a beautiful scatter the week coming in from Fitz right there to kill the Fizz, and shortly after to get the Wukong. So, wow, okay, a comedy of errors. It did, the Lizard's roam did end up making it a favorable trade for Nox Ignis Elemensia though, because the enemy bot lane was to this thing, and we finally see the pause go in. Grace, she says you can actually pause the game yourself. I'm not quite sure why you would ask the enemy team to pause for you. You actually have 6 minutes of pause time left, but anyway. Right, so the game has been paused. Now, what we've seen so far, the reason that Nox Ignis Elemensia were able to get 7-4, were able to get 7 kills right up 12 minutes into the game was because Jungler Please was constantly getting invaded upon, and he was not particularly getting enough support. And this is partly one of the larger issues of playing as a 5s team against another 5s team, both in general 5v5s, 5v5 team ranks, as well as tournament games. And right now we do see Versatile Forest fully abusing the Wukong pick from Jungler Please and trying to make ends meet. One lane I didn't quite touch upon is the top lane, which is the Irelia versus Kennen. Ordinarily, this would go heavily in favor of Kennen due to the very nature of ranged versus melee tops. And Kennen was actually popular way back in Season 3 only because of that. And we see another bit of aggression going in. The Xeroxian only trading blows with Omale right there, and nothing particularly being gained out. The Lizard is seriously trying to bear his fangs out and is completely ready to destroy the enemy bot lane, it seems like, because his reckless engages. It's very unconventional for Leona players because you wouldn't even see these in solo queue unless probably you're high elo or something, which I certainly am not, so I haven't seen Leona go as aggressive as Lizard is right now. But he's completely showing us that he knows and what Leona is capable of, and really the 2 deaths that have happened so far to him were only the result of getting slightly unlucky. Like, his initial plan was to go to the Darket, and oh my god, there it is. There we see another invade coming in, but another engage coming in, but beautiful monsoon by Drake Zero conceding the flash, but will it be enough for him? No, it won't. The Nimbus Strike will catch on, and the Cyclone will secure the double kill for this thing. And worst all, Forest unable to get out, and that is a triple kill, which is pretty huge. Now, what can they do about the Syndra? No, absolutely nothing, it feels like. And it seems like a triple kill in return for that. And they are unable to kind of stop. Okay, right, and Seeker unable to stop the teleport coming in from Grey Jesus, and Grey Jesus, she actually kind of misses. What will they do in order to make this work? And oh my god, this is too much. She can pretty much finish Kennen off through auto attacks alone. Fairly poorly played by the Kennen, and right now, no, you wouldn't want to go anywhere near that Syndra right now. A 7-0 and 1 Syndra with a Moralonomicon pretty much spells disaster, because right now I am damn sure if I were her, I would just start building towards a Rabadon's Death Cap and just completely tear people apart before they can end up building magic, any resists. So, well, an amazing roam from Fitz, but it wasn't even followed up by Easy Peasy. I'm not quite sure why she had actually been at the bot lane for a very long time, so Easy Peasy was kind of left to push. And right now, Nox is playing a very good game with the Fitz roaming really well, and worst all Forest ganking and counter ganking really well. And while he did concede a triple kill to Jungler Please and all 3 kills on the Wukong, pretty much nothing changes in terms of the pressure they've been doing, and a very, very good insect maneuver onto Drake Zero there, and this will be 2 straight kills again going to Fitz. He has 9 out of 13 kills, and he is that is the definition of a hyper carry right now. You wouldn't want to go anywhere near that. And look at this, Seeker alone is enough to completely chase out Jungler Please from his own jungle, and this is the pressure game. Like I said, their team comp is built to just create pressure and utilize it in the best way possible. And that is exactly what they're going for. And the Cyclone coming in, Jungle Please, I'm not quite sure why he wanted to go in. Lizard is the tankiest member of their team right now in their current state, because Irelia only has a Phage for any form of tankiness, as opposed to Lee Sin only having a Sightstone, which contains very little health. So not quite sure what he was planning for on going on Lizard over there. He was the tankiest member. He was the one who could take blows the most. Or either, I should rather say, well baited by Lizard, if that was his plan all along, to just entice him into going for things. And the game is right now really slipping away unless Zero Respect kind of scramble and stick as a team and try to contest objectives slightly better, and kind of manage to catch Worst All Forest the next time he managed to counter invade with proper vision. But as we can see, the only ward that the Zero Respect really have is that lone ward near Wraiths, as well as a ward right where the Scuttle Crab would be, which isn't particularly good news for Zero Respect right now. And the Draven Ultimate will hit both ways, but it wasn't enough to kill her, it seems. And this pretty much spells, I'm pretty sure, a down tower, because it is at half health. But no, they're not. They actually recognized Easy Peasy going to the bot lane. At long last, he is actually roaming, but at the cost of being ambushed by a Fitz. So, and oh my god, if that stun a hit, that would have given a full incentive to go forward, because remember, when Syndra does stun a target, it gives you vision. It actually reveals the unit's hit to you. And will he actually be able to bait this? And oh my god, Seeker yet with another kill right onto Grey Jesus in the meantime. Sorry guys, I guess the camera is getting too distracted right now. Looking to top and to mid and trying to see, and well defended by a Fitz onto this pink ward, completely making Easy Peasy regret the decision to go for that thing, go for taking out the pink ward. And right now, I'm not quite sure what Losol is thinking. He is backing off, and this might very well, we might see a decoy coming in from this thing. No, they don't quite do anything about it. I'm not quite sure what Jungle Please is thinking of right now. But whatever it is, I certainly hope he creates an opportunity fast, because the game is slipping away from him. Look at the CS difference even. It's Raven with 162 CS as opposed to Caden's 106. And oh my, huge tussle going on to the mid lane. 4 people actually, pretty much, if you trying to include the cannon, and oh my god, that will be it. That will be the demise of Fitz right now. that title slash trickster seemed enough to completely kill Fitz and set up the first death on her. So that is good. That is one thing that they can do, completely mob Fitz as much as possible before Worst All Forest can react in time. But then again, I did mention this in an earlier cast today about minimizing losses. You need to make sure you minimize your losses, and when you do lose, at the cost of a Fitz, they managed to get Grey Ceases once again. So pretty much Grey Ceases, I would say, has been shut down because he hasn't been able to get his boots and is forced to get his Zhonya's at the very start. So that is kind of a worrisome situation in the top lane, and Easy Peasy is to 4 deaths as well, but he did get a couple of kills, so you could probably count on the snowball potential of a Fizz, and if he gets his kill on Worst All Forest, he is set to get his Lich Bane, and oh my god, look at that damage from Seeker. That is all they ever would need. And Jungler please flashing over to get away, recognizing that Fitz is on his tail another time really. And Grey Ceases kind of circle around. I think he'll probably end up dying to this thing. And wow, Seeker, you went right past thinking that he would do something, and that will be the unleashed power completely massacring. Right now, Syndra, if she hits R on any one member, they are sure to die. Given how fed she is and the gold she's sitting on and the items she has this early into the game. So really, they've pretty much let Fitz snowball out of control before they could build any defenses against her. And that really caused her, and oh my god, what a critical miss from Easy Peasy right now. Completely working against him, and he just ends up getting deleted. Thanks to Leona's gentle. That was kind of the only disengage that they have. And that was the other thing that I wanted Jungler Peace to address in the bot lane, where things would slowly go from decent to bad to completely terrifying. And it is, trust me when I say that, but that bot lane is going to be very terrifying right now, because not only is the CS difference so great, but they have actually managed to snowball fairly well. And will we see any? No, it actually does not have flash. The only person who has flash on Nox Ignis Elemensia for now are Draven and Leona. So they are pretty much invading, and they are pretty much stealing every single camp there is. The pressure game is on, and it's very, very, very real, and it is reminiscent of all the teams that have actually managed to crush. All the teams that have managed to crush have been playing a very similar game, where they would just go in and crush them. And again, over here, solely with warding alone, the power of double sightstones is also showing here because of how well. And oh wow, okay. Worst of all, actually managing to stop Grey Ceases' recall. Does not seem to be doing anything further with it though, and if it does see 3 people in the mid lane, it's pretty much calling out their positions, leaving Xeroxy, and right now Lizard kind of slowly moving his way towards Xeroxin. I pretty much thought that the Lizard would leave Xeroxin, and yes, it does appear to be that he's leaving him alone, and Xeroxin cannot quite solo kill this thing yet. And wow, that is exactly what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. The Fizz's own title slash trickster completely negating the unleashed power, and he's doing well. And wow, some really fine moves coming here, but it's not enough when you have 4 people running right onto you, and Seeker being a successful distraction for the rest of the team so that they won't be able to back him up in time as well. I'm not quite sure what. Zero Respect should have recognized the opportunity and seen that Seeker is actually trying to be a distraction and could have actually gone in. I'm not quite sure why they would just not all spend everything into Seeker. I guess Easy Peasy could not communicate the fact that 4 people are on his tail, and that Seeker was kind of alone into his team in time before he managed to die. So a little bit of a miscalculation going on the side of Zero Respect, but right now the game is, I really can't see a way for these guys to come back at this very moment, because it is insane. I'm actually more surprised how badly Jungle Beast can actually get counter jungle and wasn't even backed off, and wow, that damage. I just cannot believe how much damage that spinning axe did. And this is the power of an Infinity Edge into a Last Whisper. So this means that any defenses that will be built from Zero Respect from here on will still be negated because of that early Last Whisper rush. So right now, both the bot lane and the mid lane has snowballed as well as the top lane. Literally all three carries, people with the damage, has snowballed successfully. So Worstall Forest is pretty much smirking to himself, probably smirking to himself, going, my job, my work here is done. Now it's up to you guys to finish the game. And that is pretty much what they appear to be doing. They're just trying to catch the enemy off in their own jungle, and if it's kind of staying there, trying to see who would probably come his way to do it. And this will be a heavy engage onto Grace Jesus. He goes right in, does make the Zhonyas. Will they be able to get the catch on this though? Remember, there is nobody else anywhere close, and will they rather try to turn this around? Is this really enough for this thing right now? No, not quite. Easy Peasy has taken out Xeroxian. And they will end up killing, and they will end up dying 4 for 0, and they will end up killing 2 for 0, but not without a price. Like I said, Seeker minimizing their losses, and beautiful flash right through the tornado, only forcing Drake Zero's own flash and just wow. Okay, so before a round of breath, because there's so much going on, let's reset the situation. Anyway, so Worstall Forest, with the early counter jungle, did set his team up for a really awesome mid game and an even better late game for now, because the late game of Zero Respect does not look to stand up as well, because it is a Kennen in the top lane, it is a Wukong in the jungle, and he's not able to tank up in time. So they need to stall it to super late game in order to get their front line at all. This is just their front line, but it's not anyone who's innately tanky, like say a Malphite or a Maokai. This is a Wukong who would ordinarily build damage first. But this time he's been counter jungled so much, he's been starved for gold so much that they're not letting him reach his power spike and his peak. And right now they're just trying to dance around, waiting for the minions, trying to go for the siege onto that mid lane, or are they? I'm not sure. I think it does appear to be a Baron rotation. Is that really what they're going for? I am not quite sure. And things are going forward from both teams around the red buff region, so I guess they're either baiting Baron or actually going to take Baron. It does look to me that they are going to bait Baron, clear watching over, or instead, not really, they can just fight directly, because Seeker and Worstall Forest is just so powerful, they can just take on 2v3 and completely trust in their team to back them off, and that is some huge damage from the Draven going on. And this is just being a complete wipeout right now from Nox Ignis on to Zero Respect. The snowball completely showing, the skill difference completely showing at how well executed those moves are really in this entire match. So with that, they could probably get their first tower and first inhib tower as well as an inhibitor itself, and will probably make a rotation to Baron and soon later to Dragon, or ordinarily, as in their current situation that would be the most optimal choice, because right now they can fight anything, they can be outnumbered and they can still come out ahead, because a 12-0-3 Irelia, a 13-1-6 Syndra, and a 4-3-2 but with amazing CS on a Draven is just a force to reckon with. But really, you can pretty much 2v5 their team if you're the Irelia and like the Lee Sin, I guess. So basically, Nox Ignis Elemensia completely baiting them out, doing a really fairly good job. And if it's trying to go all in on this one, they actually have all rights to. However, not like that. Not like what Lizard is thinking right there. You really wouldn't want to go that far in. However, that early careless Zhonyas from Fitz, oh my god, forget what I said. That was not careless at all. He completely made up for that in ulting, in making a really good ult and literally killing Fizz with one scatter the week. That alone should show you how far ahead the Syndra is. Normally, a plain old scatter the week that isn't a stun wouldn't particularly kill people immediately. And wow, Worstall Forest having the tenacity to stay alive and completely trusting Fitz to kill them in time. And right now, basically every single person in Nox Ignis Elemensia is pretty much sneering and grinning and smiles all over, really, as in they're just pretty much pleased with how well they've taken the game this far, and they will just be looking for the quickest way to go for and end the game, which is quite arguably a dragon and a baron. Have only two stacks of dragon though, so they haven't been able to fully take the dragons up till now. They haven't been able to get that third and fourth stack yet. So while they will not have an while they don't need it, because you're pretty much so ahead that you can fight them even if the enemy team had 5 stacks of dragon, it now seems like, because that's how far behind they are. And this is evident from the gold difference as well. You see a 24,000 gold difference between the two teams being spread across all over. And that will be the third dragon being settled for the team. And Lizard kind of alone right now. Can they recognize this? Can they actually bother going further? No, they actually stay. I'm not quite sure what the plan is here. I think they fear that Nox Ignis Elemensia is taking the Baron, and he goes right in the middle and melts. Utterly melts to the Syndra, and the Unleashed Power does go in, kills a Wukong, and seriously, Xeroxian is a monster right now. Along with the rest, we saw Seeker and Fizz kind of peak by getting all those amounts of kills, and Fizz kind of 1v1ing Lee Sin in the distance. I'm not quite sure why Tactic Camera didn't follow that instead of showing us Seeker trying to kill a Caitlyn. But this is it. This is probably the final push onto the game win, and that will be the inhibitor taken by Seeker along with the rest, slowly going forwards. Lizard will go forward, trying to get those caches out, trying to see what they can do, and it looks like Rashis is really not going to make even the slightest of moves, and he will just go right in, try to walk right past the tower. Bit of a walk of shame, really, because of how insanely one-sided the game went. And really, it was just extremely good team coordination, extremely good roams from Fizz, and an extremely good early jungle phase, putting that Lee Sin to good use and abusing the weak early game of Wukong to such a way that it actually ends up being the reason for why they won. So, that's it. That is Nox Ignis Elemensia versus Zero Respect, and this is Raz signing off. See you in the next match, and the next match will be the final match of the day.